Hi. Bit of a different vid today because A, it's about time I did another Affinity Photo one. But B, I've actually already recorded this on the iPad version and altered this file on the iPad version. When I got to the end, I found that the screen recording had crashed. I've come across this before on the iPad version with Affinity Photo. Before it was adjusting curves that caused it to crash. But I'm wondering if it's because I'm sort of running out of space. I only got the 64 gig version of the iPad Air 4. And I'm wondering if it's not a bit too full to cope with long movies. So today, luckily I saved the movie. And today I'm going to run through how I changed this, which is a photo of one of my parents' houses taken from an aeroplane. Now, this is taken back in the 80s before digital cameras. And in those days, people used to fly around in aeroplanes, take photos of houses, then knock on the door a couple of days later and try and sell the photos. And my father actually bought this. As you can see, the white balance is just way off. It's way too red. But they had my dad at aircraft really, because he's an ex-RAF, World War II Bomber Command and Transport Command pilot. So anything to do with aircraft, he was a complete sucker for. That was it. They had him. But by going through a process of adding adjustments in Affinity Photo here, we can change this to that. Right, which is what I want. I want to save that, obviously the corrected file, for my little family archive. This photo is a bit fuzzy because I scanned it in for the iPad size recording, so it's blown up a bit as you see it here. And it wasn't a great photo anyway, to be honest. Even with all the color corrections done, all the corrections done on it. But I thought what I'd do is just run through how I changed this to that and how you can too. Now, a lot of this is subjective. I'm doing it by eye. And the scenario I had in mind was that, say you leave college, you're qualified in photo editing, and by some horrible mischance, you don't end up immediately working on high-end magazine covers for Vogue in New York, but instead you find yourself in the middle of Idaho working on, the Potato News website, and your art director or editor, whoever it is, comes up to you and says, "Look, this photo is going on our website in 20 minutes. Do it." Okay, you can spend hours on these things. This isn't the point of this little vid. This is to show you how you can quickly make this photo a lot better. And again, as I say, you could spend hours, but this is how I do it, or this is how I did it. So first of all, right, obviously there's a huge amount of red everywhere, and my first thought is, well, let's use curves to get rid of that. Okay, and we'll look at what I did. The red I've taken right down like this. I've added a bit of contrast really by the master, which is the white line. I've boosted the blues and I've decreased the greens. Okay, and you've got to remember on all these, although I haven't done it on this particular file, on all these corrections you can mess around with blend modes. All these on this vid are left at normal. But what does soft light look like? Horrible. But you can mess around with those, and then you can also mess around, even if you leave it on normal, you can mess around with the blend options. And most of the time you're going to be working on underlying composition ranges on the right here. And as on everything, the left is shadows and the right is highlights. So by dragging down the effect that is having on the shadows, Can you see how it's getting lighter and going back to that red? And you can do that for all of these adjustments. And what's more, they all come with masks, so you can invert a mask, go Command I. I'll show you this at the end, but you can invert the mask and then use a paintbrush to literally paint these on to areas that you want. I'll demonstrate that at the end. Okay, so that's what I did with curves. Next thing I did, white balance. Okay, and here we have very marginally reduced up the white balance to the right, 3%. And I've done the tint quite a lot. Right up here, 61%. And when you're doing these corrections, usually if you're doing really, really strong corrections, you might have gone a bit wrong. Really, you want to keep your adjustments nice and subtle. But remember how red this was to begin with, this photo. So we're gonna have to butcher it a little bit, and we can see the difference that's made. See, it's quite subtle, and together with the curves, and that's just in 2 adjustments. Okay, next thing we're going to do brightness and contrast, and I've really brightened it up here. I've brightened it up 62% and turned up the contrast to 24. And as you can see, it looks washed out. That's too much, but we're going to correct that as we go along. Okay, it's all part of a process. This is the process of steps. Okay, so we go on from that to that now. Next, going to add vibrance. And with vibrance, I left the vibrance alone and whacked up the saturation. So, as you can see, I've oversaturated it a bit there. But next we're going to do colour balance. And here I've shifted it from blue to red, from green to magenta, and from yellow to blue. And the figures are -19, -18 and 12. And again we can see the effect that that has had. Okay, next adjustment, levels. And here with the levels, you want to adjust the black level so that this line lines up with the start of the colours appearing on your histogram here, and the white level lines up on the right with the end of the info in the file. And we can see the difference that that made. Okay, and the colours are coming right now because this photo was taken on a very, very hot summer. So although it looks slightly unnatural, the lawn was looking like that. It was looking, you know, on the verge of going brown rather than sort of the lush greens you typically get in the English countryside. This was in Herefordshire, so everything's particularly lush. Okay, the next thing I did was add a LUT. Now, this was the analog film LUT, which I got from, it's a free LUT that I downloaded from, is it Olivio Sarkas? His channel. I'll try and put a link, and a link down to a page where you can download, which is a list of free LUTs available to you that you can download. It's up to you to, you know, get your own collection of LUTs together. You can export them from Affinity Photo for photos you've worked on that you like, and you know you can build up your own portfolio. I've got mine on my iCloud drive, LUTs here. So that I can access it from the iPad and and the desktop here. But this is different to LUT mode. Can you see? Right, and again, let's have a look at all the adjustments we've made so far, turned off and on. Looking a bit better, isn't it? Okay, and the last one is selected colour. Now, selected colour is very powerful. All the action, as far as I can see, goes on in neutrals down here. Okay, and we'll turn that on and off. Now I'm going to add another selected colour to show you how you can invert a mask, right? And I'm going to, let's say, boost the reds. Actually, the roof looks a bit better like that. Okay, now say that roof is actually looking pretty good like that. Now say I wanted to just keep this adjustment, this selected colour adjustment, on the roof, and I didn't want it to affect the rest of the photo. I'm going to close that now. What I could do is have it highlighted like that, hit Command I on the Mac, right? Black appears, that is a mask. All these adjustments have built-in masks. So what we've done, we're not seeing any of that adjustment now. If I turn this tick on and off, it won't make the slightest bit of difference because the whole thing is masked. So I want to bring that effect back on the roof. So what I'm going to do is grab a paintbrush, make sure I'm using white, 255, 255, 255. Okay, and paint this adjustment. Can you see how it's redder underneath the brush? Right, okay, I'm going to just slow that down and paint that last adjustment onto the roof here. What have we got? Yeah, hardness 50%. You want opacity 100%, flow 100%. Turn down the hardness so you've got some nice soft edges. And can you see how it's making that roof a deeper red colour? See, and what we're doing is painting on that last adjustment. Just on the bits of the roof we're painting over. See, it's turning it redder. Again, subtle, but it makes a difference. And there you go. Have a look at the roof. See, none of the rest of the picture is being affected. And that, for a 20-minute job, I reckon you can be. It is, in fact, that is the physical size, right, that I scanned in for the iPad. So that's going up on the website in now. You can turn in that work. And as you can see, at that size, as long as that's the size it's going on the website and it's not inflated by the by the website code, we went from that to that. Okay, and we'll zoom in again. Command 0. That to that. And remember, remember masks. Remember, you can mess around with both the blend modes and the blend ranges on every single one of those adjustments. And you can also mess around with the opacity for it. You can turn down the opacity on a particular adjustment. See? But it's very, very subjective. The more time you've got, unless you get totally lost, the better your result's going to be. And the less time you've got, well, all you can do is, wing it, basically. But that's what it's like real size, and I think you can agree that it's a hell of a lot better than that. Okay, that's it. That's another little Affinity video done. Now, I know there's other ways to do this. Lots of people would do it different ways. And what I did when I did it was imagining that scenario. You're time limited, you're working on a little website, you've got a crummy photo to try and prepare for the web. And it shows, I think, just how powerful Affinity Photo is, and so perfectly adequate for anything for the web, certainly, to correct old photos. Now I've got a nicely corrected photo for my family album. Okay, thanks very much indeed for watching, and I'll see you next time.